and this is going to sound very cliche, but it's just true. There's something about losing and then letting that loss fuel you so that you go home and you train and you practice, and then you go out and you do it again, and then you lose again, and then you go home and you train and you practice, and you go out and you lose again. Then you do, and and then next time maybe you crash and you break your arm, and then you got to wait for 2 months, and the whole time you're just sitting there going, all I want to do is get back on the track and beat those people that keep beating me. And so to me, that is who I am. And I don't know of anybody that's going to end up in this race against me this time, next time, who's got that in their back pocket.
Absolutely.
I don't, it feels a little bit like I'm puffing up my own chest or whatever, but it's just who I am. And I know that I'm going to put in everything I've got to win. And so I think I will at some point.
All righty. Well, I think that's it for your time. Do we want to do other questions, or should we move to Danielle?
I'm good with whatever you guys want to do.
Do we have any questions, Joseph, from the audience?
It doesn't look like it, no.
Okay.
And then John, let me know if the latency changes, because I started the streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, the sun is really taking its time. That's
that time of year.
This wouldn't have been so bad if Danielle didn't steal the main light at the last second.
But Danielle looks fabulous. So
Freeman, it does look fabulous.
Yeah. The Earth rotates at the same rate, like every single day.
It's flat, and there's a cat hitting stuff at the end of the Earth.
Knocking things off. Steve, thank you so much for joining us at short notice, and
no problem
for being patient with our technical issues. Let us know what's your website. Where can people go to learn more about you?
Voteforcox.com. On that website, you're going to find over 30,000 words of policy that I wrote. And that's one thing I want to say. If you want one takeaway from this whole thing for me, is that I'm a total geek. And I have 30,000 words of policy that I source everything. I put all the data, on, and depending on the issue, I try to pick the data that goes with the people I'm trying to convince. So, on universal healthcare, I try to cite data sources from right-wing sources, because I feel like those are the people I have to convince that this is the right thing to do. But the point is I put a lot of effort into that, and I wrote it all myself and edited it all myself. But in the end, what I actually, the part that I thought that I wasn't going to like, which is going around and talking to people, I thought they would hate me because I'm a politician. I'm like knocking on their doors. And in the end, that's the best. It's absolutely the best. And it doesn't matter what side, this mythical side thing, it doesn't matter what side they're on. They're people, and they're fantastic, and I just really enjoy it. So that to me is the best part, which I did not expect at all.
Well, thank you for running. It is the hardest thing. And as you said, it's been a long, strange trip, and we look forward to catching up with you on the other side and see what's going on.
All right. Thank you.
So I think we're going to bring in Danielle now. Why don't you give Danielle an introduction?
All right. She appears to be not on mute. That's good.
Good.
Oh, now it's me. Sun's still there.
This is so clever. There she is.
But my light's good, I think.
Yes. Oh, your light's fabulous. Oh, there she
is.
That's
what's important.
Yes. So we have Danielle St. John, who's running for Congress in Congressional District 49, which is, we have heard about this district. This was Darrell Issa's district that he has given up. He's not running for re-election. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
I actually kind of, talked a little bit of trash on Facebook and other social media sites to Darrell Issa, but really it wasn't until I found out that he was not going to run that I really started considering it seriously.
Yeah. Well, good. And we have interviewed Doug Applegate, who is also running for that role. Tell us a little bit about your platform and what is your main core issue that you are wanting to talk about?
Okay, thank you. So basically, cooperative economy is my platform, but nobody knows what that is. So how I translate this into something that people politically mind, money, if we took money out of this process of our political system, then I think that we could actually have a voice back. Right now, it's just, insulated, right? Our politicians are insulated by money and they can't hear our voices, right?
Yeah.
So that's number one. So we need to get money at least out of this process, out of the process of politics. Now, secondary to that, but still very, very important, is profit out of food, news, and health. I think that if we at least took the profit out of these, what I would consider human rights, the most important human rights. Yes, housing is also very important, but these things I believe are where to start. Nobody had to worry about where they were going to be getting fresh fruits and vegetables, what kind of an energy shift would we have, right? So also health, we have, sick care. We don't have, health care right now. So I think so. And the media, we all can relate to, because of what we watched in the 2016. I know that was where a lot of people woke up and to the reality that the media is not on our side, right? So I think that really, if I'm gonna jump in and start with just a few issues that would make the biggest impact, I believe it would be those.
Yeah, good.
I'm also against the next war.
Yeah, and the wars we're in now. Now you're running as a Green, correct? What has it been like? You haven't had as long as candidacy as some. What's it been like for you on the trail? What surprised you and what didn't?
Well, I don't know if anybody has ever run for the reasons that I'm running, right? So little backstory was I'm a lifelong Democrat. I started voting when I turned 18 in 2000, despite some hit pieces by NPR. And I was Democrat. I've always voted Democrat. And in this last election, right, I found out about Bernie Sanders. I was actually ready to vote for Hillary. We were ready. It was her turn, right? And it was my very conservative mother who said, there's another Democrat in the race. You might want to look up Bernie Sanders. And, and because of that, I started speaking out politically for the first time. I posted things about, human rights and things like that. But, mostly, I didn't really speak out on social media. And I was a normal person, had about 300 friends on Facebook. And then because of Bernie Sanders in this election, I maxed out on friends. They turned me into a public figure, and so all of a sudden I have this crazy platform specifically because of politics, right? So I had a lot of pressure from my followers to run, but I still was, I wasn't serious about it because I didn't know how easy it was. I thought you needed $2 million to fill out the forms. I thought you needed thousands of signatures, right? And they didn't see me coming. And I think that's why I stayed under their radar.
Well, good.
Sorry, Freeman.
Yeah, that's okay. Freeman, what questions do you have for Danielle?
I would like to know, what is it that made you want to run, aside from our conversation? Like, you've been so driven this whole time, and I keep not pushing you away, but keep challenging you in ways that I feel like you'd have to be an excellent congressperson. And a lot of people would shy away from that. Why is this driving you so hard?
I think it's because I've always really been and we actually get to shape the way our country goes with our vote, right? And during this last election, it became glaringly clear to me and millions of people that we didn't have a voice. And it really, I think, shook me to the core enough, that, and coupled with the fact that, I just had one too many Democrats say, well, if you don't like the system, do something about it and run. So I'm like, okay, it's just a little bit too snarky for me. So I feel like not many people can say that they've done what I'm doing now. A lot of people can say that they sit on the sidelines and coach from the sidelines. But I think at this point, I feel like I have to do this. I have to go through this process, just to get my voice back.
Have you found talking to different people and conservatives, Greens, progressives all over the place? Has your worldview changed, perspective changed?
Well, I think that our perspective should always change, or be at least open to change, right? We're not. You want me to shut this door?
Yeah, I'll do it. Go ahead and answer.
So hold on. Okay. Hopefully this doesn't, like the last time it got all weird with the Wi-Fi.
Sorry, folks, we have a little bit of an echo issue here internally. Hopefully that will fix it.
Okay. So actually that's been, it's been interesting to be able to talk to so many different people. I think that nobody is an expert at everything, right? And so by ignoring other perspectives and not being open to other people's opinions and perspectives, I really think that we do ourselves a disservice, because we already have enough lines put up. You know, the establishment wants us, you know, divided into as many directions as possible, right? So I really try my very hardest to talk to every demographic, every, Democrats are a little hard for me because I did Dem exit, and they don't really like to have their stuff called out, right? And so I actually had 2 establishment Dems tell me that it was a slap in the face for me to be running, because they had done so much work, you know, trying to peddle these, you know, candidates that are sort of kind of okay. Like, and I don't.
But didn't they tell you to run?
What's that?
Didn't they tell you to run?
Yeah, right. Exactly. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say that I'm completely irrelevant and I'm going to destroy your party at the same time, right? Like, you know, I don't know. So that's been kind of interesting, just because I am kind of newer to their corruption than I am the Republicans. I shockingly have an easier time talking to conservatives than I do to Democrats. It's, I can talk to them about human trafficking. I can talk to them about a lot of things that, you know, that the Democrats just aren't open to. So now in my district, it's, I think 23% no party preference, which is really, really good for me. Just because the 2 major parties are split so far. Like the Democrats, I think, have 4, Republicans have 7 running in this race. So it's, and you can really tell by just talking to people that people are sick of it. People are, you know, they're ready to vomit, honestly. Like they don't want anything to do with these 2-party systems. They're really waking up to the fact that they're not being represented at all. And I have Camp Pendleton in my district, they don't want any more ribbons on the door. They don't want to go to war anymore. So it's been very interesting. I've got a large, I think a lot of perspectives are represented in my district. And I think that just makes me stronger, more able to represent them by going out and being open to listening to everything that everybody has to say.
Absolutely. How do you find talking about the difficult issues? Because it seems like on Facebook, at least compared to most politicians, you're talking difficult issues. You talk guns, pedophiles, everything.
Well,
do you feel like you're going to get judged for that?
Please judge me. I think that's my job to be judged, right? Like that's but no, it's not hard for me to do, because I haven't sold out to interests that would not like me to talk about these issues, right? So when you talk about being on the campaign trail and, you know, what it's like, I don't think that my campaign has been anything like any of the other campaigns of the major parties, because I'm not having to beg for money. I'm not having to, I guess, compromise my positions to anything except for, you know, my own opinion and what's best for the people of my district. So that's basically what's going on with that.
Do you find that when you get into the general, that there's going to be people who aren't really ready to accept a lot of, I guess, some of your positions? Like, the human trafficking is not really talked about.
Human trafficking is going to take a little bit of time for a certain population to understand or to accept. Fortunately, that population is dwindling in numbers. I think there's a lot of people waking up to the reality that human trafficking is an issue, and our media is not covering it. And usually, I mean, our media covers what they want to cover. Our media covers what they want to promote for an agenda, right? And they don't really focus on us. So, so
it seems like the media oftentimes it's not even so much that they aren't reporting the facts accurately. It's the entire narrative that they set up, and what's from the media, like what they did to Bernie, war, all that.
Right. So one thing that we have to understand is that we're literally funding the destruction of our planet, right? We kill people like ants in other countries. It's very, very sad, but these are the realities. So when you see a 7-year-old girl on TV in Syria talking about how, we need to come in and, slaughter the military of Syria because, a few of her classmates died, which didn't even really happen. I always look at this like, what are they trying to do? They know we kill people like ants. They don't care about these dead babies, to be perfectly honest. So it's more than just covering up. It seems that they come up with narratives to push agendas to get public approval on really, really awful things. And pedophilia is no different. There's been, it's sort of a bit of a rabbit hole, but if you go down it, you don't have to go too far down the rabbit hole to see that Jimmy Savile, who was a British entertainer, he died, a few years ago. He was a horrible pedophile. He had more than 500 victims, and BBC covered for it for 50 years, right? So BBC is not too far removed from what's going on in our media, right? So I think that when you look at examples of pedophiles or potential accused pedophiles, instead of going in and doing the work, having the police go in and actually do investigations on this stuff, they get sympathy interviews a lot of times, especially if they're people in power. And it happens on both the right and the left media. So it definitely is a big problem that we have, and we're going to have to face. Taking profit out of media would go a long way to solving a lot of these problems quickly.
Yeah. And I wonder how you are going to, I guess you may just need to talk about, there are wide differences in understanding between folks who've been following, say, QAnon and how they would view Trump then versus folks who aren't even following QAnon versus the different foreign policy. It seems like a lot of people are blaming different actors. So my question is, with regards to what you were just talking about, how do you plan to, it's like, because a lot of I guess what I'm getting at, a lot of the normal Bernie progressives who are maybe still following Bernie disagree with you a little bit on, I guess, the nature of the problem, right? It seems like they haven't entirely disregarded the media as, well, you and I have.
Right. And and we can actually look at this at Russiagate. That's a really great example. Yes. Yeah. And, the fact that there's just some of even my closest friends are just like obsessed with every little detail coming out about nothing. And there's much bigger fish to fry, honestly. And so, and I think that I've already started to try to break down this narrative a little bit with that RT interview, where it was kind of neat. I was asked to be part of a project where they took social media activists, and we all got together and sent in little clips, hello, I'm Danielle from California and I'm a Russian bot, right? And well, RT picked this up, right? And so they asked for a few people from the video to come on and do an interview on RT talking about why we decided to do this when it's so prevalent in our media that that Russia's being blamed for this. So and they did a really cute clip about, and they mentioned my campaign, talked about money out of politics and things like that. And I think that things like that go a long way to helping people kind of wake up to the reality that something's fishy here. They are trying to paint narratives about countries that haven't been a threat, possibly have never been a threat, but haven't been a viable threat in decades, right? It's like they don't even bother to come up with new stuff. They just reuse old playbooks.
It's like the whole Syria gas attack.
Exactly. They've done that 3 times.
Right. And it's interesting that they're still expected, they honestly, with a straight face, expect us to go to war off of that message. Like, oh, there's a gas attack, and we're like, okay, we have weird footage from the hospital showing that's not it.
Right. I think what's going on now is the same thing that's going on with police brutality. People have videos, or they have cameras on there. Everybody has cameras on them, right? So I don't think that this is getting, I don't think police brutality is getting worse. I just think that it's now getting reported on. And I don't think that, there's never been a time in history where we can debunk things like chemical gas attacks in real time. And, and then the more times that we are able to do this in real time, the more people are going to realize that our media is lying to us. And then, once they start to question, I think we'll be on a much better path to fixing the problem.
Okay. So do I have time for more? Is there
Yeah. Do we have any questions from, I know there's been some stuff going back and forth.
Yeah, we have one from Alpha Gray Knight. How do you plan on standing up to the hydrocarbon industry?
That is again
hydrocarbon instead of oil.
Right. Well, okay. So that it is kind of the same remedy with virtually any problem, right? Our government's been purchased by special interests, right? And this is another industry that throws ridiculous amount of money into our political system so that their voices are heard louder than ours, right? And so to me, I think the quickest way, rinse and repeat with most of these issues, is to just take money out of the whole process. And when that happens, then all of a sudden we're going to have, whether it be the people who are, in power currently, who have lost the ability to fundraise, which I don't think they're going to stay. But I think what more likely is going to happen is it's going to usher in a whole new, class of representatives that actually that are, ready to get in there and to make changes, make their communities better, instead of, fighting for this like incremental change. And we're not even getting incremental change. It's getting worse.
That's the funny thing I find with people who advocate, well, just keep voting blue. And I like to use the argument, how many decades do we want to wait? Like, seriously, it's like it's been 4 decades now and healthcare keeps getting worse. How many decades do we want to wait?
Right. And I think it's great that so many people are politically involved now, but I don't think Doug Applegate is a really good example. I think he's got some really, really progressive policy issues, some platform issues. I think legitimately he is not just saying the right words in the right order. I think that he actually does believe a lot of this stuff, but the fact that he chooses to run, within this current system, this counter-revolutionary system that we've got going on, it really kind of makes me question, if he's capable of making the changes that we need to make, right? Because so I don't know. I don't know if we can achieve what we need to in as quick as we need to actually save this planet by making the kind of incremental change that Doug Applegate would have to be fighting for tooth and nail every single day. How long until he's worn out and just starts to take the money?
Well, and for me, if you don't even call out how our votes may not be counted, I think you're already part of the problem. Because if you don't have a realistic vote, that you either paper ballots or some kind of trail where everyone's in agreement, you don't really have democracy.
Right. And then there's the even, less subtle example of the fact that there is a progressive who's actually even just saying the right things. And what do the Democrats do? They throw 3 establishment candidates in the race too, to neutralize him. it's like, even from the very beginning, even before the first vote is cast, the Democrats are working against him. And I don't know if, we already have enough problems reaching across the aisle, right? I just don't think that we have the time to waste fighting our own parties and the other side. Where could we be using our energy? I mean, there must be much better things that we can be using our energy on other than just fighting for scraps.
Well, what about all the money that was raised in your district? Could we have used that any other places?
Oh, I don't think so, right?
How much was raised?
So far, we are, I believe, maybe no one's been able to disprove this, but I believe that we have the most expensive primary in history at $14.9 million. And I think actually Steve Cox is second. He was number one. His district was number one.
Steve, you got aced out, buddy.
Sorry, it's not a competition. I feel like this is a horse race. I feel like they're like betting on the ponies. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I even went to a few Democratic club events and whatnot, quite a few. And people honestly believe that raising more money makes you a better candidate. Mm-hmm. And if you measure it by how many ads you can purchase and all the things you do, yes, that's correct. And none of them ever can stop and say, wait a minute, that might actually be the problem. Right. There. And
right, I believe
fundraising, you can actually go online and yell at John Podesta and whatnot and engage with the public as opposed to spend your time fundraising.
Right. I think Paul Kerr is now a super Democrat because he's raised $4.5 million for the primary.
Nice.
Like I think that because that's how they rank their Democrats, right?
Yeah.
You can raise money. Oh, I'm going to make, I kind of joke around. I think Tom Perez is making him a plaque somewhere, but yeah, it's just gross. It's like, what can we be doing? And think about how much it's going to be. This is just the primary, like that's, this is not even the general election. We're probably going to double that at least by the time we're done. It's like, what can we do with that money in our communities? Why are we wasting it on this process that doesn't help us?
Just think about how much money they're going to raise against you once you pass the June primary. That's going to be all hands on deck for the establishment.
It's just, the contrast just keeps growing, right? It just makes me, gives me more of a contrast, which is great. I really don't want to be even called a politician, right? I'm not a politician. And
yes, you are.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, she's not. She's a candidate.
I still drop an F-bomb every once in a while. So I don't think politicians can do your mom jokes.
Yeah. I think one of the most inspiring things that we get from the people that are on the show are the people that are coming from everyday life who are running for reasons much different than politicians have run in the past. So thank you so much for running. I think we do want to move into Joseph's segment. But where can people go to help you to find out more information about your campaign?
You can go to humanitarises.info, or for those who are, we actually have two websites. So that for those who are really not that politically minded, you can go to readytovomit.com.
We'll have those. There you go. I'm readytovomit.com. This is evidently this is a sign that you can see along the sides of the roads among all the political signs, and then you get to see this. So I kind of
okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. We just need more voices like you out there promoting the right kind of candidates. That's the only way we're going to get our country back. So thank you.
Wow.
And sorry about the lights.
Oh, now your lighting is beautiful now.
It's perfect now, right?
Well, now Danielle's blown out because she's.
I know. Now I'm all yeah. We're gonna have to fire
we're going to shift over anyway to Joseph Sakata. He's got a few more campaigns that from this season that he wants to give a shout out to.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys.
Thanks.